What is up there, ladies and gents? Welcome back to the wonderful, amazing world, or the world at least, of Radical Rex. If you are here without watching part 1, first of all, I don't know why you would be clicking on Radical Rex part 2 without watching part 1, but just in case, we are playing through the Sega Genesis version of Radical Rex, which is one of the games of my childhood, sort of a slightly above average action platformer, I would say. Not one that too many people remember or care about, but it's one that I kind of like. So last time we made it through the first half of the game, that being the first 5 levels, and so this time we're going to make it through, as you might have guessed, the second 5 levels, or 10 levels in total. And as I mentioned last time, we make it through the first 5 in episode 1, and then have to sort of backtrack back through them. So we actually did the swamp level last time, and now we're sort of going back through it. However, what this does not mean is that you're going back through the exact same level layout. Now, the level layouts are completely different, but the sort of theme and music and tile sets and everything are the same. And while you could certainly argue that this was due to saving money or laziness or some combination of those factors, I actually thought it was kind of cool as a kid. You know, it's like you definitely get sort of a feeling of, all right, we made it to the end and now we have to get back and chase the final boss back at the beginning, you know? So I don't know. I don't necessarily dock points for it, although I could understand why someone would. Once again, we have our Panic on Funkatron style airfish and fish that drain air. Watch out for those. Now, as you might imagine, the second half of the game gets quite a bit more difficult than the first half of the game was. However, it never really gets, like, splat, like, completely out of hand, in my opinion. Granted, I did play this game a lot as a kid, but I don't think anything ever gets, like, super unfair or super difficult or anything. And hey, you may have noticed that the level, or the life counter, rather, can actually go above 9, so you gotta give them credit for that. For some reason, I've been playing a lot of these older games lately where, like, the life counter can't go above 9, and it's really funny. It's like you couldn't bother to program an extra digit? I don't know. Not a game programmer, so what do I know? So we talked about sort of a little bit of the game's development, or not necessarily development, but just a little bit of the history behind it and the studio that made it. So one thing that I mentioned in the previous one was that the game was recently ported to PC, and by recently I mean like 2019, so quite recently, especially for a game this old. However, I went on the Steam page, because it is on Steam, and I checked it out. It's $5, by the way, which is a pretty good price. But what I discovered was that it's actually a completely different game, the one that's on Steam. Now, I don't actually know if this is because it's a port of the Super Nintendo version, because, as I said, I've never played that version, and apparently I was too lazy to do some basic research and watch gameplay of it. But yeah, it looks completely different than this, and actually kind of looks worse, in my opinion. Maybe I'm biased, but even just like graphically and stuff, it didn't look quite as good. So if you want to actually play this version of the game, you're kind of out of luck there. With that in mind, I went on eBay and looked for copies of this game, and they're not too expensive. Whether or not it's actually worth it, I don't know, but it's going to run you about $15. That's, you know, United States dollars. So that's not too bad. Of course, you would have to have a Genesis or one of those multi-consoles to run it. But there's always that other option, right? The one that starts with an E and sounds kind of like Terminator. I'm not sure. I just sort of came up with that off the top of my head. I'm talking about emulation. You could emulate it. And maybe that's the way to go. I mean, I don't know many people that still have a Genesis or a Mega Drive hooked up. But if you do, I'd say this is probably one that's worth adding to the collection. I think you can figure out just by watching the gameplay whether or not it's going to be for you. Although I did see that there was a complete in-box near mint going for like $300, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend getting that one, but hey, if you're a hardcore collector, I suppose. So here's our second boss of the game. He's actually a little bit more difficult than I'm making it look here. It took me a few practice runs to kind of get this down, but basically if you get him into this sort of rhythm, he basically swoops down at you, and so you can kind of manipulate the AI by bouncing on these mushrooms. And I do love the like goofy look he gets on his face when you hit him. He's like, ah. Yeah, see, I kind of got out of the rhythm there. It's okay, though. We'll just roar him out of the sky. See ya. Now, what I might do, I'm not really sure yet. I might check out the Super Nintendo version and the original Game Boy version, Baby T-Rex, which is just such a terrible title, by the way. Like, you wouldn't imagine that anything that was like, you know, baby and then name of some sort of predatory animal would become popular, right? You know, Baby T-Rex or Baby Shark or anything like that. That would never catch on. But regardless, I might check it out. I don't know. This isn't like super high on my priorities list of like, oh, I'm trying to get through all the, you know, Sonic games or something like that, but maybe. Anyone watching this, if you have played one of the other versions, let me know if they're significantly different, because I probably would not play just a straight-up port that's almost exactly the same. Although, if going by the Steam page for this is any indication, they might be completely different. By the way, I did, I looked at the Steam reviews, and they were pretty on point. You know, Steam reviews tend to be kind of cringy sometimes, but these ones were pretty good. Like, the #1 review on here is a thumbs up. Is it good? No. Is it ironically good? No. Is it rad? Yes. Recommend it. Kind of good. And then allegedly not a radical port, so that's unfortunate. Although this other review says it does allow you to change the controls, so I don't know. Regardless, hopefully I've done enough to sort of represent why I think the game is worth playing. But for most people, I think that playing it is going to probably take the form of just downloading a ROM, which, as always, I will not be telling you how to do, but you can figure it out. You know, I was thinking the other day, obviously back in the early 90s and such, I was a youngin' and was not buying my own games. It was a case of, you know, convince your parents to buy it. And I was trying to remember, like, how much games actually cost back then, and I was quite surprised because, you know, we think back and we're like, oh yeah, games and stuff were cheaper back then, but a lot of ways they really weren't. And so you can look at something like this and go, oh yeah, $5 easily. 15, maybe. But like if this was a full priced, you know, $50 release or whatever back then yeah, I don't think so. But I'm sure I got it on sale at Walmart or something back in the day. You know, simpler times back then. For me, as a youngin', just seeing a dinosaur on the cover was generally enough. And because back then, you know, we didn't have access to, you know, 500 million pieces of media at any given time on demand whenever we wanted them, you would get something like this and then put quite a bit of time into it. It's like, you know, renting a game or a movie at Blockbuster or Hollywood Video or something for the weekend, right? And it's like, well, I got to get my my time out of this, even if it's not, you know, the best thing I've ever played or watched. It was a different time, certainly. So this particular level, once we make our way to the top, I'm once again sort of backtracking just to make sure we get enough eggs to get the bonus stage. But this one has arguably the hardest boss. Maybe. We'll see once we get there. But it's kind of a weird one. That was pretty slick right there, right? This level definitely still has the coolest background music. Now, unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess you could say, this is pretty much all there is to discuss about Radical Rex. You know, we never got a sequel. We never got any other pieces of media revolving around Radical Rex, to my knowledge. I didn't do a super extensive search, but, you know, this wasn't one of those sort of games where we got a comic book and a TV show and whatnot. Although this would seem to have been prime material for, like, a little comic miniseries. But as far as I know, that never actually happened. Which is a shame, question mark? Yeah, probably not, but hey, there's something, I suppose. Let me put it this way. As dinosaur games on the Genesis go, it's no Dinosaurs for Hire, which is an absolutely fantastic game, also a comic book, and one that I have a full playthrough of up on the channel already. So there you go. Aha, extra life. The worst nightmare on this level is when you're on one of these and then the wind kicks up and you gotta like really carefully thread the needle. But as I mentioned in the previous episode, you can kind of time out the wind because it comes at set intervals. And I think we figured out last time that you need somewhere in the area of like 90-ish eggs, so I should be pretty close to getting the bonus stage. We're actually going to need that roar power for, okay, whatever, that works. For the boss. For reasons that will become apparent shortly. Will 89 be enough? I don't know. $92 should be, though. I guess it's worth noting, although it has not happened to me, it is quite possible to, like, fall down to the beginning of the level on this one, since you're making way from down to up. Alright. So the cool thing about this boss is that if you do happen to have the fireball, you can actually hit him with it. But normally what you have to do is hit these bones into his head, which tends to do quite a bit more damage anyway, so it's probably the best way to go. And the roar attack here is quite useful because what it will do is actually sort of cancel out the hitboxes on all the other bones. Because otherwise you can be hit by all these as they fall down on you. So yeah, quite useful to be able to just sort of tap the roar and eliminate all those. And there we go. We decapitated him. It was pretty legendary. I think so, anyway. All right. Yeah, it looks like you can't hit a double with a single block. Or at least it won't pierce through one enemy and hit the other one. So hey, the more you know. keep that in mind when you do your playthrough of Radical Rex, which I'm sure every single one of you watching this video are going to run out and buy this game. Yeah, you know, funnily enough, just from... also, I love how he fell for the same trick again, getting eaten by the dinosaur. But, you know, I'm actually kind of curious now. I might check out the Super Nintendo version. Maybe. I don't know. It's not like a huge priority for me, as I mentioned, but might be worth it. Although, once again, this isn't a game that I'm like, oh, they really need to do a reboot or something on. Whereas the aforementioned Dinosaurs for Hire, actually, if they made like a Dinosaurs for Hire 2, that would be awesome. If you've never checked out that game, then you should definitely check that one out because it's a totally awesome game. And I know we're talking about Radical Rex, but I'm curious. Yeah, that one only goes for about 30 American dollars on eBay, so totally worth it if you still own a Genesis or Mega Drive. And then, of course, there's the comic series, which I have not actually checked out. But enough about that. Back to Radical Rex. As you can probably tell, they've sort of started to amp up the difficulty and or frustration level on this particular level. This might be the hardest level in the game, maybe. You just got so many different obstacles and weird crap going on. But it's alright. We shall soldier on. You know, looking at this again, it really is kind of gross, isn't it? It's like overly detailed innards of a large dinosaur. But as I mentioned, I think in the previous one, I'm sure that if you were to go on DeviantArt or something, you could find a subgenre for this kind of thing. But I wouldn't necessarily recommend that you go do that. Come on, move. One thing that is actually kind of nice, I guess I didn't really even think about this to mention it. We, of course, have a life bar, which is pretty nice for a game like this. I think that if we had, say, like a two-hit system, like a Mario game kind of thing, or a rings system like a Sonic, that the game would be significantly more frustrating. You are given a pretty good amount of health pickups, as you can see, like the one down there, and they do restore you to 100%, so it's not too bad. Oh, that guy almost got me, though. I hate the precarious spike jumps. Remember, we're going by Mega Man spike rules, not Sonic spike rules here, so... I think I'm even going to be able to get that. I don't know how you get that one. Because these things sort of suck you in. It's alright. We're almost at 90-ish, so we should be able to get there. Oh, come on. So the boss of this one, kind of weird. I don't know what that's supposed to be. I guess the heart. What you got to watch out for here is it shoots those little green orbs at you. And as I mentioned in the previous one, if you hit those, they actually burst and then home in on you. Yeah, like that. But fortunately, he blocks the attacks there. Yeah, that wasn't too hard. We have literally killed this giant dinosaur. But to be fair, he tried to eat us, so I'm not really feeling too bad about that. And look at that, 89 eggs actually works, so who knows how many you actually need. Not me. Not me. Yeah, I remember this one. You got to kind of hurry at the beginning when you have those iframes, because there be enemies in these waters everywhere. I'm not sure what I was going for there. And check this out. We got character development. Ooh, yeah, nice try. That's right. I've gotten stronger over my... Oh. All right, so welcome back to the swamp forest. I think that other area was considered the swamp, so this would be the forest. Now, although the last level might have been the hardest level in the game, this one definitely has the hardest boss in the game. I remember having a little bit of trouble on this one as a kid. But we'll deal with that once we get to it in a moment. I suppose there was one thing that I didn't mention the last time we were on this level, or the previous iteration of this level, and that is that you actually are invincible while you... Oh, this is just mean. Gotta time that correctly. You're actually invincible while you're hanging on the vines. I guess they just didn't know the correct way to program it, maybe, but it ends up being quite convenient when you have dudes swooping down at you. So definitely use it to your advantage whenever you can. It's actually kind of funny because the piranha enemy that we saw at the beginning even has a, like, attack where he jumps up and attempts to grab you, but he actually can't because you're invincible. So I don't know. I think you can tell just by sort of watching this that the jumping is very responsive. I didn't specifically address it, I suppose, but it's one of those games where you can kind of, you know, change the direction in midair, jump higher or lower, obviously, by holding the button longer, and you can really make your jump fairly precisely. I got it. Almost got eaten by the piranha, but it's fine. Take advantage of that roar attack, like I said, as much as you can. I'm not sure if the exploding turtle is a scientifically accurate animal, but yeah, see, I can even avoid getting hit by that. We'll go with it. I'm pretty sure the fire-breathing miniature Tyrannosaurus Rex is not scientifically accurate either. Although, who knows? You know, they've flip-flopped on the feathers thing, so maybe maybe the fire-breathing thing could be... Yeah, I'm going to stop now. You know, that little pterodactyl guy? That's the perfect example of service with a smile. A creepy, never-fading smile, but a smile nonetheless. I suppose anyone who has ever worked retail can relate to that. And juked. Nice try. Yeah, really the only thing that I can think of why they would have not programmed you getting hit while hanging on the vines is just that they didn't know how. Because that particular section seemed to have been set up where you were supposed to get hit off by the hornets or whatever they are. So I don't know. Not complaining though. And faked out. Ah, got him. All right, so we are going to be going in to this boss. Kind of similar to the previous boss, although a little bit harder. We have unfortunately poked the literal, not proverbial, hornet's nest. And what you want to do here is really keep your roar for when you need it. You can only hit the little holes, whatever you want to call them, when the hornets are about to come out. And they come out in a particular pattern. So you got to kind of keep that in mind. This particular boss is actually quite a bit easier when you don't have the fireball power up, because you can sort of pierce through and hit multiple hornets at the same time. But alas, that's what we have, so... Fortunately, as with the previous boss, it gets a little bit easier as you go on because you start breaking the individual sections. Although you'll notice that I'm about halfway done with the boss, and we've only broken one. You almost got me there. Come on. Yeah, see, unfortunately with the fireball, the hornets can block your hit, and you don't even get any damage on the thing. Running out of roar power here, so hurry this along, hopefully. Nice, one more. Okay, thought that would have done it, but evidently not. Alright. Kind of a gross sprite for that thing, don't you think? It was rather legendary, wasn't it? Thanks, Rex. I appreciate it. Alright, this will be our last bonus level before we go on into the final level. I guess we're just going to stealth this one, huh? Boom. All right. You just killed the bug for no reason. Awesome. So here we go into our final level. The final boss is going to be... You can probably figure it out, but I'll leave you in suspense. This level is actually pretty difficult as well, although not very long. You just have a lot of potential to take a lot of damage really quickly. And you know what? It's interesting, now that I think about it. If we can't get another bonus stage, as far as I know, Why would we be even getting eggs on this level? These are the questions that we ask ourselves, and that I can't be bothered to answer. So, if you really want to know, then I guess, well, we'll have to Google that later. Or do your own playthrough, I guess. But I don't know, I don't think I've ever gotten anywhere near like 90 eggs on this level, so I don't know if there even are enough. Maybe they're just there to fill up the level. Who knows? Not me, as I already mentioned. Yep, and that there is why we took our time on that section. Because there's lava on the floor. The floor is quite literally made of lava. All those years of preparation of the floor is made of lava were for this one moment. Ooh. Very nice. You know, I gotta say, one thing that I'm actually kind of surprised at is that the game doesn't have a... Oh, there they go. Like lemmings. I'm actually kind of surprised the game doesn't have any sort of score function. Like, killing enemies doesn't get you points or anything. Oh, just barely avoided that guy. You would think that it would have something like that, but really there's no way to gauge, you know, different playthroughs on like, oh, I got a better score or I got a better time, because the game doesn't keep track of your time either. So that's kind of weird. I guess, well, I don't know what the Radical Rex speedrun community looks like, so I guess you have to keep your own time on that. There's no in-game time to look at. But I can't imagine that there's too huge a speedrunning community for this game. It doesn't seem that there'd be too many ways to, like, save time. Although certainly just, like, running through the level correctly, but it doesn't seem like it's broken enough to have, like, any skips, really. And the levels aren't set up in such a way that you can really speedrun them super, super well. But I don't know. Anyways, yes, our final boss is this guy again. However, his moveset is a little bit different. This weird fire sword thing. And then he has this other move that just sort of wastes your time, that I'm sure we'll see. Yeah, so obviously you can't jump in front of him while he does this. If you go all the way to the end, then you can sort of jump over him, but I haven't found a really effective way to hit him during that. You can sort of jump out to the left and hit him, but not really, because you kind of take a hit most of the time, so I don't know what you're really intended to do, other than just stand under him and occasionally roar. All you pro Radical Rex players watching this, let me know in the comments. All 0 of you. What you really want is the little fire move, because you can hit him 2 to 3 times when he does that. 2, 3. Oh, only got 2 that time. 1, 2, 3. There we go. I always did find it kind of funny, though, the little, like, rhythm that it makes when those fall, because they start hitting at different times. Got some serious polyrhythms going on, that's all I'm saying. Anyways, we are almost there. All right, sir. You got him. Well, everybody, that was Radical Rex. Once again, I don't think that there would be many people that would call this a great game. However, I think it's pretty good. I think it's worth your time, worth checking out, maybe. Although, again, I have not played the version that's available on Steam, which apparently is completely different, so I can't really speak to that one. But might be worth checking out. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this little playthrough. I will be uploading a full long play version, so all the way through, no commentary, as I normally do. And aw, that's kind of cute. I hope you all enjoyed this one, and I'll see you in the next video.